Today, I am building a hobbit house for you guys. This is my hobbit house if I were a hobbit, which let's face it, I kind of am. I mean, minus the hairy feet, like, and toes. I'm essentially a hobbit. Like, I don't like adventure or unexpected, and I love to eat.
That's why you married a chef.
And I would live in a hole underground with a nice interior, if I could. Let's get started. I'll have all of the supplies in the description box and links to where you can get them, but mainly they were pulled from around the house because the goal of this build was to do it fast and to use up some of the things that I already had at home. One of the things that I had just laying around was a picture frame, and I never knew what I was going to do with it, but this was the perfect opportunity because I wanted to have some thing that showed that this house was in the Shire, which is an outdoor location. But the finished build was going to be sitting on my desk, and I took the opportunity to just use a picture. I printed out this copyright-free image from, I'll link the website actually where I get these images for you guys, but I just got a copyright-free image. I kind of edited it in Photoshop to make it the size that I wanted and change a few parts of the picture. And then I put that in the picture frame, and that's gonna be the backdrop for the hobbit house. The main material for this build is cardboard. I used a ton of cardboard up, which I'm happy about because it's just been piling up in the house. And if you're ever having trouble finding cardboard, which I don't understand how that could happen, if you start saving it, you'll just discover that you get a lot of it really quickly. But if you need some more cardboard, you can always get it from stores. A lot of the time they're throwing it out because they receive their packages in cardboard and then they just recycle it. I started out with a pretty decent plan this time because the last couple of builds that I did, I let them get away from me. So for this one, I drew out a couple different ideas and then I went over and perfected those and made it darker in Photoshop and used that as a guide for the outside of the house. I made some building exteriors for my Craft Timber series last year, and I'll link to those videos so you can see them, but I just made a flat exterior of the building, and I'm doing the same thing here. So I'm using some cardstock paper to be the background, and then I'm building everything on top of that. Chipboard is being used to make the bricks and to make the overhang of the roof. Some mini craft wood planks are being used to make the wooden beams that are going across the roof of my hobbit house, and I'm using Aleene's tacky glue to glue everything down. I pretty much use that throughout the entire build. I'm gluing down some coffee stirs to be the wooden planks of the door, and I'm gonna end up covering that up with the door frame, which I'm cutting out of some craft wood, and then I'm also going to use some more cardstock paper to be the walls, and that's just going to like add some dimension and give it depth without me actually like making this thing end up being super thick because I'm just winging the scale here. I didn't really measure anything. I just drew out the basic design and I'm eyeballing all of the sizes of all of the different pieces. I dropped this one brick in the same place twice and I can't believe it didn't get it better on camera, but I was like, how do you drop it in the exact same place 2 different times in a row? When I needed some of the wooden planks to be a little bit thicker, I just glued more coffee stirs one on top of the other. And I wanted there to be a stained glass window, so I'm using some shrinky-dink plastic. This time I decided to sand down the plastic, and I was hoping that that would make it easier to color on the colors because I'm using colored pencil, and I wanted it to be more opaque and to be able to like take the colored pencil better, which it did. So that worked out pretty well, and I didn't know what size to make it. I just drew it about 3 times bigger, what I estimated 3 times bigger would be, because that's what the package said it would shrink down. It said it would shrink down to 3 times smaller. So this is the size that I made it, and I stuck it on a little tile, and then I stuck that into my mini oven. I removed the papers from some foam core, and then I started drawing out the rocks for the rocky fireplace that I wanted to have on the side of the building. It ended up just looking like that wall was made of stone, which is fine. But I pressed in some details with a rock that I stole from my garden, and then I cut out the Hobbit house and glued together the base of cardboard using hot glue. And then I formed the Hobbit house around my cardboard base and glued that in place. I was gonna make everything just be covered in grass, and then I realized I wanted like some stone steps to be buried in the grass so it wouldn't just be all green. So I used the same foam core and made more stones that are gonna be on the ground as a little walkway up to the door. I'm basically papier-macheing the hill, but I used tissue paper and I just like covered it in glue and like 3 drops of water and smoothed it down. I saw somebody use this technique actually to make like a lake one time, and I just started using that as my papier-mache method for everything. I'm painting the papier-mache with acrylic paint. I used a dark green color because I'm covering everything in grass. I don't know if that was the right move or not, but a lot of this project, I just made a choice and went with it and didn't allow myself to second guess anything. And I'm trying to get better at doing that because I feel like I stress about every decision on a project. This stuff is called static grass, and I'm just trimming it down because I felt like the grass that I had was too long. Next, you're gonna wanna have a sweater and a balloon. So we're gonna do some static electricity stuff right now. I put all the static grass in a cup, and then I charged it up by rubbing it over my sweater. And then I rubbed a balloon over my sweater and used the static electricity from the balloon to help the static grass stand up. It's a little tough to see in this video because I couldn't figure out how to get the camera to be focused in on the right part and not be in the way of my balloon. But I was really happy with the way that this went because they sell static grass applicators, which will do the same thing. But the price range for those is from between $20 to like $150. And this balloon was $1. So if you're looking for a way to try out some static grass without committing to like spending a lot of money, definitely go this route because I don't think it gets cheaper than that. And as you can see, I'm painting my Hobbit house in earthy color with brown acrylic paint. I wanted to keep everything very neutral, and the only thing that I really wanted to be super colorful was the door and the garden. So I'm just doing like dry brushing different browns and tan colors over my stones and over the brick details, and then eventually I dry brushed white paint over the entire outside of my Hobbit house. I felt like I could have possibly stopped right here and just added a doorknob and this would have been the end of the project. But then I started thinking, what about the garden? I wanted to add some flowers. So I made a little picket fence. I'm using chipboard and then coffee stirs that I cut in half to make the fence, and I glued it together with Aleene's tacky glue, of course. I painted it with acrylic paint, and then I just glued that in place with more tacky glue, although it had a little bit of trouble staying in place while it was drying because it was a curve. So I probably should have used hot glue for that. I have this punch that makes leaves, so I decided to make some ivy growing over the rock wall or fireplace. I mean, I think it just looks like a rock wall, but the fireplace on the side of my house. Since I don't know what scale this house is actually built in, but I know it's super tiny, I decided the flowers shouldn't be too crazy. So I'm using a combo of just some painted sawdust that I sprinkled on top of little patches of the grass, and then some dried flowers that I dried in a previous video, but I painted them. I feel a little bit like Alice in Wonderland painting roses red, but I painted those yellow and blue, and then I glued those in place with more tacky glue. That's it, guys. I am so happy with how it turned out, and I'm so happy it didn't take me forever to get you guys another video. What do you think of the build? Will you try it out? Let me know down in the comments. And big shout out to my patrons. These are my tier 3 patrons whom I love. I literally love you guys. Thank you so much for your support, and I will see you in the next video.